Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy, Matt Diazable, doing some more album reviews. Oh yeah. And today I'm talking about one of the probably biggest albums of 2024 in the metal and alternative world, and that is Falling in Reverse, Popular Monster. I'm sure if you're watching this, you already know who Falling in Reverse is, but if you don't, Falling in Reverse is a heavy metal band out from Las Vegas, Nevada, and they are fronted by this man here, Ronald Radke, who was a frontman for the band Escape the Fate back in the day, but then he left that band and some things have happened. You can look it up, find out what happened. And he started this band in like 2011, and I think they've dropped about like 4 albums since this. And I think this album was supposed to come out sooner, but because of Corona and everything, a lot of things got pushed back. Because the first single for this album, which was in 2019, I think it was called Popular Monster. That was the first one that dropped, and since then they've been just like slowly putting out work. And I think they noticed that the world has changed in terms of music, and people are more single driven and streaming music, so they put more effort into just putting out singles that are really, really good with good music videos and high production and everything. And they've kind of reworked everything to cater to the masses. I would say. It's called Falling in Reverse, but it feels more like a Ronald Radke solo project because, like, the album cover, he's the only lasting member since the very beginning of the band. And most of this album is just really, really just mostly him, it feels like. And I feel like if he wanted to do a solo album, it probably might have been a little bit better. At least I would have taken it a lot better, but because it's supposed to be a collective, being a band and everything, I feel like you hardly hear any of the band because most of the time he's like rapping over like simple beat and everything, and the band comes in like here and there throughout the album. And I gotta say that because of those moments like that, I feel this album feels extremely forced and inorganic in terms of how it's being produced and the way it's made and how it feels. And I think the thing that makes this album not that great is the fact that there's like a mesh of genres that just feel all over the place. And so the album feels very sporadic. And then the songs themselves have like a weird pacing to them. And so like some songs just feel like they're too long or too short. Like it just doesn't flow very well. It doesn't feel like a very cohesive effort. And then also lastly, mostly it's all focused on, I know vocals are very important, but like it just feels like all you hear are just Ronald, his vocals, him singing, rapping, screaming. It's just so prominent in your face that it kind of takes away from the overall experience and just kind of drags down the album, I think. For most of this album, it feels like the band just doesn't really exist and only comes in here and there. And like it's just so few and far between moments where you really get to feel a band playing here because he's just like doing his own thing. And that's how it feels like it should be a solo project. Now, I will say that I was really surprised with the opening song Prequel because it really builds into itself and like you get the full effect from the band and everything. And I thought, oh, okay, we're gonna go with a different route with this album. But unfortunately, this is like one of the few songs that I really enjoyed because also I didn't realize most of the album had already been released. And like I think there was like 2 or 3 songs that hadn't been really released. And so you kind of already knew what the album was gonna be like. But this opening song, Prequel, was a really surprising really surprising song and everything. So I want to play a small clip for you so you can get a feel of like how like I think they sounded very cohesive and good on this particular track and have a lot of potential to be good when they seem like they are a band. Those haunting backing vocals and just the drums and guitars, everything mesh really well, surprisingly. But I will say, out of like 11 tracks, this is like one of the few. I think there's only 3 songs on here that I actually thought were pretty good, and so this is one of them, sadly. Now, I can appreciate him trying different rapping styles on this album, which, that's not easy to do, so I can give him props there. But he just doesn't sound like the best rapper. He doesn't have the best flow, and it just feels really awkward when he does that stuff. But I can say that when he sings and does like unclean vocals, he really he sounds really good on those moments. Like when it's really metal time, he sounds good. The band sounds really good, but those moments are so few and far between that you just don't really get to experience it that much on this album. And I think that was a bad call on them to not go so metal. Like they do metal moments, but they should have done more on this album, I thought. And I think a good example of that is on the song Ronald. He has a really good harsh, unclean vocal style here that sounds not bad. So I want to play a clip for you. Like he sounded pretty good there. And just like in that moment, the band sounds really great. The drums are hitting really hard. The guitars are really heavy. The bass is kicking in really hard. But I feel like because those moments don't happen that often, the band kind of gets pushed to the side. And I guess they want to experiment, or Ronald wants to experiment, which, you know, it's fine. I think it should have been just a solo project because you got rapping, ballads, metal, you got country on here. And it just throws off all the cohesive and pacingness of the album. And I think one big example is that is on the song All My Life. It's just a weird country song kind of thrown in, and it just doesn't really mesh well with all the other music. And like I said, props for trying to do stuff differently, but it just doesn't feel that great. So I want to play a clip of All My Life for you.
Everything goes wrong and I self-destruct when I'm close to love. So someone save my soul, because all my life I've fucked up and I can't deny. I'm doing my best to get it together.
Like, I'm down for people experimenting, but this just doesn't feel right. And at times the lyrics can be kind of interesting to listen to. Like, I'll give him that. He has some fun things to say, but I will say he seems to say the same thing over and over. Maybe he's just going through the motion. He's got a lot on his plate and he wants to get it out, and this is him channeling it. But it feels like he's always talking about cancel culture and being unstoppable. I guess in a way, you know, being encouraging and stuff like that, but it feels very one-dimensional. And so in conclusion, I want to say, like, the mix of like genres that don't really mesh well, really like lack of giving the band, I guess, proper time to shine, since I would say 40 to 50% of the album is just more him rapping over a simple beat. So it's kind of split, like the band is there, but at times it's kind of not. And then also because they jump through different genres, some of the songs feel really janky and disjointed, so the pacing's really off. So, and I think what helps was, like, if they didn't make this an album and they just had those all the songs just being released as singles and just as standalone things, I think it would be easier to digest. But when you listen to them one giant effort, it just feels really messy. And I think also, out of like, I think 3 songs they added on to this, one was really good, which was Prequel, and the other 2 songs that I remember, they weren't that great. So overall, for the long wait for this album and as a body of work, I just don't think it's very, very good. I guess maybe one thing I can say about it, production wise, they have a good production, so it sounds good, but the ideas here and the presentation and execution is just poor, I think, and just not very good. And so I would say this album from Falling Reverse is a decent 4.5 out of 10. Links down below. Let me know what you think about this album, what you think about my review, and tell me what I should review next. And until next time, guys, thank you for coming by. I am Matt from Diazable. I will see you in the pit.